Come on, camera. All right, how is everyone doing? Give me 1 second. I am a little behind. While I get myself all together. Come on, camera. Come on, camera. All right, all right. Let me know. Can you hear me now? Hopefully. All right, nice to have you. Can you guys hear me now? Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, perfect. I accidentally muted myself. All right, so Samantha, nice to have you on. Jazz, nice to have you on. Who else do we have on? Let me see. Let me get this straight. There we go. And all right, sorry about that. I went to go get some water and got sidetracked. All right, so nice to have you on. I think it's Thimble. Yolanda, nice to have you on from St. Louis. Nice to have you. Z Sugar, nice to have you on too. All right, so let's get started. So sorry again, a little bit, got a little sidetracked. I went to go get some water and, I'm 52 and then I got lost in the kitchen. So, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's time. All right, so welcome to our fourth episode. And so I'm actually going to just dive right in. So this episode, we are going to be talking about six-figure travel CEO roadmap. How many of you guys in comment are interested in having a six-figure travel business? Let me know. How many of you want to have a six-figure travel business? How many of you already have one and just kind of want to get it together, or you are aspiring to it? Alicia says, hell yes. Jess says yes. Yes, Maria, I think I pronounced your name right. It sounds fantastic. All right. So what we're going to do is walk you through a tool that I've created, which is a blueprint for building a profitable and premium travel business. So what I want to do is start with what most advisors sort of like they overlook, right? Which is actually designing their revenue structure. How many different streams of income have you all defined for your travel business? Who has greater than 3 streams of income in their travel business? Type in the comments if that is you. How many of you all have 3 or more streams of income for your travel business? Anybody out there? Me? Harriet? Awesome. Joy? Yes, I do. Awesome. Thimby says not me. Jazz says yes. That's absolutely the starting point. And so what I know specifically about six-figure advisors, they start with the end in mind, meaning you are setting your targets and planning how to reach them. So if you are not on mute, if you could mute yourself, that would be awesome. Gonna mute everybody again. Is they start with the end in mind. So we are in May, which is right in the middle of second quarter. Right in the middle of second quarter. How many of you already have a revenue target for this quarter, for third quarter, for 2025? Do you have a target, a revenue target? Right? I do. Yes, you do. Awesome. All right. So absolutely what's required, and we're going to go through the framework, but what I want you all to think about is if any of you are out there and you're saying no, you've got to be intentional about what your annual goals are, what your profit margin looks like, and what your income streams are. It doesn't happen by just booking clients, becoming a six-figure agency or advisor. It's really around creating a strategic revenue design. So what we're going to do is talk about how you actually create an offer suite using the value stack formula so that you aren't just randomly hoping that you hit your numbers, that you're being super strategic. And it really does start with your offers. So this is what I will tell you. If you want to be a six-figure earner, you have to have a signature service and or product. This service needs to be generating 60 to 70% of your revenue. This isn't really around just the fact that you book travel. This is really around the process and your approach to creating premium positioning in your travel business. So let's talk about what that looks like. So do you all, right? So we've got people who are who got targets. You know what the end is, but do you have a signature offer? How many of you all have a signature offer? And when I mean offer, two, you have a service offering that focuses on you, the advisor, and what you bring to the table. And then you have a signature product that you showcase and or sell, right? How many of you all have those two things in your travel business? I do not. Jessica says I do not. Harriet says I do not, right? Jessica says no. Jazz says yes, which is awesome, right? And so what we want to do is we want to, Yolanda says no. Brent says no. All right. So it sounds like a lot of you don't have. What we want to be able to do is leverage that offer so that we can serve multiple clients simultaneously. That's what your product is going to do. We also want to have a passive stream of income that creates revenue without you having to dedicate time to that. So we're going to talk about that as well. So now let's jump into, I'm going to kind of skip up to here. What I want you to do now is we're going to focus on what it takes for you to do that. What exactly is inside the blueprint. So I want you to focus on things in phases. First phase is going to be your offers. Second phase is going to be the systems that you use to deliver those offers. And then the third phase that we're going to talk about is how you scale to optimize. Because scaling is really around doing the thing that works on repeat at a larger audience. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to say, what I want you to do is commit to 90-day chunks. That means you're going to commit to doing something for 90 days and you're going to do it in a way that is going to be manageable and strategic. So what I will tell you is so if you're looking, you came to this training, you're like, yes, I want to be a six-figure earner. And you thought to yourself, oh, that six-figure earner I'm going to be able to do that overnight. There is no overnight magic pill that I am selling or suggesting. It is going to take time for you to do this, but it's also going to be something that you need to do intentionally, that the actions that you do need to be intentional, they need to be strategic, and they need to be done on repeat. Like it's not something that you just try one time, you do it for a few days, and then you give up, right? I created an offer, I told a couple of people, and then it wasn't successful. That's not what any successful six-figure earner knows about the process. They probably have failed. I'm a six-figure earner and I failed a lot. Like I have failed quite a bit, but you know what I can say is that I tried, I tested, I know what went wrong. I know what I need to do differently. So I don't want you to be scared around the fact that you're going to fail. Just assume that you will fail. The idea is to pick yourself up, learn from those things, and then move to the next item. So once you're completed this blueprint, what you're really going to be able to do is you're going to be able to see what those phases look like and what you need to do. All right, so let's talk about what that looks like. All right, so I actually want to start with point one. All right, point one is, what is your revenue architecture? So this is really designing what your structure is going to look like, your six-figure structure. So the first element of this is designing what your revenue is going to be. Some of you all already said that you have multiple revenue streams, but most advisors are operating without targets, hoping that you get enough bookings. You hope that it's going to add up to the income that you want. And what I do know is that you've got to be absolutely strategic about your goals and design backwards. So if we know that our target is six figures, right? Everybody out here who's listening today, is everybody's target $100,000? Let me know in comments. Is your target $100,000? Yes. Yes. All right. Getting some yeses. All right. So at least, right? Atonika's like, at least. That's at least my starting target. All right. So if we know that that's our annual target, what then we need to understand is, what is it going to take for us to do that? Many of you all may or may not know the numbers. If you're fully independent, maybe you don't have commission splits. But what I will tell you is the target, I'm not talking about gross sales. So any number that I'm ever going to be talking about is not how much sales that you make. I'm talking about how much revenue you bring into your business. So if you are a host agency and you want, so I'm just going to burst this bubble right now. If you are hosted and you are relying on your revenue from commission sales to do $100,000 in commission sales, your gross sales typically need to be $1 million, right? Because after you do your split with your host agency and you do all of that, usually, I mean, I've done the math, the blended rate is about 10% commission, even if you're at a 90-10 split. After you do all of that split, average all that, right, you need to do gross. So you need to understand what the numbers are. So when I say six figures, I'm talking gross to you, not gross sales, but what is coming into your business every single year. That's six figures. So got to be super clear about what the revenue goal is, because a lot of advisors are like, yeah, I want to make $100,000 in sales. But at the end of the day, when you look at your bank account and you only have $6,000, in your bank account, because, 6,000, like I took all the numbers off, right? 100,000 gross sales at 10% is $10,000, right? So you've got to understand what that first target is. If you're with the host agency and you've got any partners that you've got to split, you need to then grow, you need to true that up to account for what you got to pay out, right? So I want to make sure that we're talking about the same numbers. We're talking about annual revenue target to your agency after your splits, whatever that may be. Okay, so now that we're on the same level playing field, the next thing that you've got to establish is, what is your profit margin? Does everybody know what a profit margin is? And if you don't, let me explain what it is. It is your amount that you have after everybody else gets their stuff, right? So for example, the main person who gets stuff. So again, I'm gonna just pretend for a second, you guys have already handled up on your host agency commitments and all that. I'm talking about when it comes to the product that you're selling, which are trips. What is that number that you want to make after you pay the suppliers? That's what your profit is. All right. So let's just use some simple numbers. If I have a trip that cost me $2,000 and I want to I sell it for 10,000, right? The 8,000 is my profit margin. Do you guys know what your profit margin average goal is for every deal? And I call trips deals, every deal that you do. Do you guys have a number that you work with? Do you have a standard that you are designing your trips around? Or are you just kind of putting it together, haphazardly? Do you have a standard for your agency on what your profit margin needs to be for every deal that you do? How many of you guys? Let me know in comments. We have a lot of people on right now, so I should be getting a lot of responses. We got over 30 people on live right now. So no, you don't have a standard. Kind of an idea, Samantha says. No, right? So what's happening is you're looking at your commission number, and the commission, I'm not gonna lie to you, like, don't get me wrong, I am not throwing shade on a host agency model, because I think host agencies are the bomb.com if utilized for good of your business. And so most of you all are out here in the streets of your travel business and don't understand the numbers of your business, and you want these things, but you have no idea what the path is to get there. And so average that I train my students, I work with my clients, is at minimum profit margins for every deal that they do needs to be 30% at minimum. Maximum, like if you can get it greater than that, wonderful, but your starting number needs to be at least 30%. And I'm not talking about commission to you, because to me, that commission is the icing on the cake of the deal, right? The commission is what they pay me because I've selected them as the provider. So number two thing, that if I want to make six figures, is that I've got to have a standard profit margin for the deals that I do. The number three thing is that you got to be able to identify at least 2 to 3 income streams that you're going to be having in your business, and not just individual bookings. So that's the other thing. So where's the income coming from? Is it just group bookings? That's all you're doing? Is there anything else? So somebody's asking, what is the 30%? So I just explained that earlier. It is the amount that you have after you've paid all costs to your supplier, right? So, or whatever else costs go into building a trip, right? So when we build a trip, we've got the supplier cost, we have a, 2%, snuff amount that we cover just in case that there's some expenses that come up. We include advertising. So it's the profit is everything after the cost of your trip. Oftentimes, most advisors, when they think about their trip design, the only cost that they're looking at is the supplier cost. They haven't added on the oh shit fund that I have, the 2% oh shit fund that I put on every item. They don't include the fact that they do gifts for their trips. They don't include advertising costs to promote their trip. So you're underwater. You don't include the credit card processing fee that you have on the trip. So when you look at your profit margin, you're allowing all these things to eat into your profit because you aren't appropriately costing the trip and you're not pricing the trip to ensure that you get a 30 to 40 or greater percent profit margin. So 30% is the take home, the profit that you make on your trip after everything else is paid. Hopefully that makes sense. Number 3, I mentioned, was 2 to 3 core income streams that you have. So this is not just your individual bookings. How else are you making income into your business, right? And so then the 4th thing that you need to do when it comes to making sure that you hit these numbers is allocating a percentage to each of the streams. And so what I mean by that is if you know that you have a signature service and that signature service is a design around your ideal client, what is the percentage of income that you want to be allocated to that? 60% of your income needs to be coming from that service, right? If it's a signature offer that you, a product that you do, is 60% of that going to be this product that you do, right? So if you do Dubai, Bali, fill in the blank locations, and those are your signature themed group trips, then that what is the percentage that you want to make off of that? Here's the split that I recommend. Signature service that you provide that is tied to you and your expertise, 50 to 60% of that. 30% to some sort of group experience, 10% to consulting and or digital products, right? I want you to break these down into quarterly targets that you hold yourself accountable. So if you want to do $100,000, right, and all your group trips are, let's say, at the end of the third quarter, right, then you know the first 2 halves of the first half of the year that revenue stream needs to be X because you're not going to start getting those sales. I want you to really break down how is that $100,000 going to be achieved through what income streams every quarter so that you can tie to it. This is not an accident. $100,000 years are not by accident. It's not by posting more. It's not by hoping and praying that it's going to, just magically show up because you do some more posting or you create more trips. You've got to be intentional about it. So I've had a client. Her name is Maria. And so we worked together. And one of the things that when she started in her travel business, she just had one income stream. She was selling group trips. That was all that she was doing. After we worked together, we broke down her revenue stream into 3. She made her services 65% was going to be based on group trips that she did for couples. 25% were going to be based on services. And then the other thing is she introduced a digital planning toolkit that she has 10% of her revenue from. This is an intentional architecture when it comes to your revenue, right? If you guys have any questions, drop them in the comments. But when you think about, for those of you that have multiple revenue streams, have you identified a percentage of your income and how that looks like? Tell me in the comments, let me know. Number 2 is that you have to have a premium offer suite, right? And what that means is that you have, people are saying, no, you haven't done that. And so that is going to be critical, is not only just say that I want to make a certain amount of money, but where is that money coming from? What are the streams of income that money is coming from, and making sure that you allocate that percentage, and that is what you're tracking to. Number 2 is making sure that you have a premium offer suite. So this is really about designing a strategic offer a set of offers that command premium rates on the service side and also on the product side. So most advisors, they're selling generic travel planning services, right? And what happens when you start selling at a generic level, you then command commodity prices, meaning you're commanding $25, $50 per person for a trip. You're not able to successfully feel confident around charging $500 for designing trips, $1,000 for designing trips, because you don't have anything that really is premium. You want premium, but you haven't designed a offer that is premium. And frankly, I don't want to burst some of y'all's bubble, because I know some of you out there, some of you guys are designing some amazing experiences, but others of you all are designing the same type of experience that people can get online. And you haven't created a premium offer. You haven't standardized a premium product in terms of the packaging that you do. And so it makes it difficult for you to create a markup. It makes it difficult for you to create a group trip or a experience that really commands what somebody can get greater than Expedia.com or Priceline or Google or anything else for that matter. So what I mean by creating a signature premium offer is it's got a name, right? And I'm gonna, because I hear you all now, well, I sell group travel, I sell fits, I can't name it. Hell yeah, you can name it. You can name your signature service and give it a distinct name in terms of what it is that you do. That service can have a outcome that is standard, that is premium above than what somebody can do with creating a prompt in ChatGPT, right? Or going to Google and like, I want to go to Bali, and getting, hundreds and hundreds of responses in terms of what Bali would offer them on the internet. My point is that your offer needs to have a premium component to it. It needs to be standardized in terms of your special sauce. And all of you all have a special sauce. If you come at me and you're like, I don't have a special sauce, there's no one to blame but you. You need to create that special, like there's a Sunday way of doing things, right? When I do things, it's got a Sunday feel for it. You understand that there's a Sunday way of doing things. There's a way that you do things that create the process that you have. If you don't, that is what you should be working on. And so here's what I would recommend your suite include. Signature service. I already mentioned 50 to 60%. This isn't just travel planning. This is your unique approach that delivers specific outcomes for your particular type of client. So when I talk to you guys about making sure that you are clear about who your who is, that service needs to speak directly to them. It doesn't need to be I put together hotel, I put together airline, and I put together activities. Anybody can do that, right? And anybody who can do that means that anybody can't charge $500 for that. Does that make sense? Like, so if you were just doing what everybody else is doing, and that there is no unique approach, there is no specific way, there isn't your way of doing things, right? And you're doing the same thing that everybody else is doing, that is the reason why you don't feel comfortable with charging for it. 50 to 60% of your revenue stream needs to come for the work that you guys do. And the work that you do is designing. The work that you do is curating. It's protection. It is standing up for your client. And there is a way that you do that. Again, I want a name for it. I want you to be empowered to come up with a name for what it is that you do. The price that you charge for the service is based on the value that you bring, not the hours. And it has a capacity. Like, you can't service every single body when you create this service, right? There's only a certain type of person that you want to deliver this top-notch service. Now, you come out there, you start in the travel world, and maybe you got recruited, maybe your friend, maybe you're like, I love travel and I want to bring it to everybody, and you thought, you know what, I just want to get in front of as many people as you want, right? I'm going to tell you, we're in 2025 at the time of this recording. And in 2025, information is not the problem. Getting access to travel is not the problem. They don't need you to do that, right? People don't need advisors to tell them how to get to a destination. That's not why it is my hope that is not why you are in business. that is not the value that you bring, because any number of search engines can do that for them. And not only that, with the introduction of AI, they do them fairly well, right? In terms of saying, I want to go somewhere, and then getting back a set of results. If that is all that you are doing in your travel business, is spitting out results, you aren't worth $500 plus or whatever, right? So your job as an advisor is to create a unique way by which you deliver a service that your client wants. So I'm going to give you guys just a little bit of an example of that. So if you work with my dreaded wedding, I'm not a bride lover. Like, I was talking to our client, our group yesterday. It's not that I hate brides or I don't like weddings, but it's a good example because most people can relate to it, right? If you specialize in brides who want unique want a unique wedding experience, right? They can go online and they could go to a resort and they could figure out some resort, right? That's not why they would hire you to do it, right? They're hiring you to help rally all of their family together, to get all of their family out of town at the location, and then create an amazing experience without the back and forth, some international, they don't want to even make the international calls that need to happen, right? That's the value that you bring. So the service that you bring, it's not just about getting them to the destination, it's all the work that gets them to the destination. 50 to 60% of your revenue needs to come for that. 20 to 30% of your revenue is what I'm referring to as a leverage offer, right? Not everybody is meant for groups. Not everybody likes to do groups, but man, 20, 30% of your revenue, if you want to specialize and focus on fit travel, having a group trip or two leverages the duplicity of having multiple people sign in, right? So you don't have to do multiple offers. So again, I'm not suggesting that if you like fits that you need to have like an entire group business, but what I will tell you is that a leverage offer, it allows you to serve multiple clients simultaneously, creating efficiency in your business, right? So you could do a group experience, you could do retreats, you could even host a masterclass, right, for your ideal client. So it's not that it always has to be a trip. I want you to think a little bit more creatively. And then I am, I would say probably for the last 3 years, I am like double down focused on passive income streams. So I'm not talking about like starting a team and getting residuals like the normal travel model, right? I'm talking about passive income that you own that doesn't require your direct time. And in this digital age, what I will tell you is what people do not like is they do not like to comb through information. And what we have is a plethora of travel information. Every one of you all should have some sort of digital product. Every one of you all should consider creating a digital product and creating some sort of membership access to that digital product, an affiliate partnership. That is really what you should consider the commission checks from your host agency as affiliates, right? So 10 to 20% of your revenue should be coming from that, or creating, like I mentioned, a membership program. And so you guys are like, many people that I talk to about this are like, well, that's really hard. Most of you all who are with host agencies, you're already in an affiliate program. They just don't call it that. That's what it is. You get a commission check. I mean, even your suppliers, that's an affiliate program. Your suppliers give you 10%, 15%, 20%, right, for referring their property, for referring their activities. 100% of your income should not come just for that, unless, of course, you're doing it at scale. So the only real way to make $100,000 in income through commissions is through scale. So if you don't want to be at scale, and what I mean by scale is large volumes, like you need to be selling in volume in order to hit at a 10%, like we already did the math, right? At 10%, if you're getting 10% commission, let's say you're fully independent and your entire revenue stream is from commission alone, you still need to make $10 million, $1 million in sales to hit 100,000 with the 10%. I'm just going to use cruise. Like if you are a cruiser and you are fully independent and you don't have the volume, most cruise lines are going to start you at 10% commission, right? So you need to do $1 million in cruise sales in order to hit $100,000, right? The only way to do that is through volume. So unless you want to be a volume-based business, then you need to think differently in terms of how you run the business from a numbers perspective. It is my deepest desire that this is all connecting for you all, because I know not everybody is a numbers person. So if this is connecting, let me know, give me some hearts, and let me know that this is all making sense to you all. Perfect. You guys are telling me that it is. Point number 3 is perfect. Thank you, Jessica. All right. So point number 3 is around creating a systematic client acquisition framework. And what this really means is that you have a systematic way to attract your type of client. So if you have an ideal client in mind, how do you get them to raise their hand and notice you, right? Most of you all don't have a way to get people to notice you. Most advisors are marketing randomly. They're posting when they're inspired. They're hoping for inquiries. Six-figure advisors, they have a clear system for visibility, conversion, and retention. And what that looks like is visibility is you've got one platform that you consistently demonstrate your expertise. I'm going to say it probably until the rest of the year, because I am like on this soapbox, like for lack of a better word, I am on the soapbox, which is clear that you should stop posting about destinations as an advisor. Stop posting about your favorite destination and start posting about how you are the best person to get people to destinations and why you are the bomb.com. This is not your opportunity to showcase destinations. That is not what you should be doing in your travel business when it talks about visibility. Because what then you are doing is putting on a pedestal destinations and not you. And I've already mentioned that people can get to locations without you. They don't pick you because they want to go to Jamaica. They pick you because they trust you. They pick you because they think that you are the bomb.com at what you do. And the only thing that you should be consistently talking about is how much you are the bomb.com in terms of what it is that you specialize in. Does that hit? Like, I want that to hit you all more than anything. Beautiful pictures are for the suppliers who have millions of dollars to hope that the people will pick that destination and pick them. You don't have millions of dollars to advertise and to market. You have a finite amount of time, probably a finite amount of budget, and your consistency needs to be showcasing you as the centerpiece, right? That gets people to their end result. Now, don't get me wrong, destinations are the end result, but frankly, people don't travel just because they want to travel. They travel because they want something out of the travel. You need to be highlighting what that want is, right? So you need to define 3 to 4 content pillars that position you as the go-to expert for your niche. And so remember what I said, a niche is not a destination. A niche is a type of person who you want to work with. Conversion system. This is a structured path that moves prospects from I'm interested in you, I think I want to know about you, to a paying client, right? So this is including a valuable lead magnet, nurturing sequence, consultation framework, right? How do people get to you, right? Once they find out that you are the bomb.com, what's the path for them to say, yes, I'm interested, to yes, I want to go. I want to learn more about you. Yes, I want you to design me a trip. Yes, I want to go on your group trip. What's that process? So that's the conversion. You guys are out here posting. I look at your posts, right? Because I do silently stalk you all, right? Like if you're in my feed and I see something that's interesting, I'll go to the post, I'll read the post, I'll see if there's a call to action. Most of you all have a pretty generic call to action. Go to your website, go to this, right? There isn't a conversion system. Everything that you do needs to start with the end in mind. What is it that you're doing? If I'm going to post something about Dubai, you better doggone Skippy. It's going to connect to either some lesson I learned in Dubai, something I want travel advisors to know about Dubai, something I want my clients to know about that location, and then how they can contact me specifically about this thing, right? So if I'm talking about destinations, I've connected the dots for the client, why they care about that. The last thing around this is really around retention. It's so expensive And so is probably, relative term, but it is expensive to get a stranger, right? Particularly if you're paying for advertising, right? The cost to get a stranger to notice you is higher than to get somebody who already knows you to buy, right? So if you have clients and you don't have a way to retain and get referrals from them, that's absolute money on the table. So for every client that you get, you've got to be thinking about, how am I going to retain that client? How am I going to not only retain the client, but how am I going to get them to give me referrals and book with me again and again and again, right? So if I get somebody who's a fit, how am I going to get them to come on my group trip? How am I going to get them to buy my digital product? How am I going to do that on repeat, right? The average lifespan, it is called client life value, right? That value that a client comes to you should be greater than just that one trip, right? Because they should be buying from you regularly. You should have a process by which that you turn a one-time client into repeat business, and they also are a referral business for you. All right. So I'm going to pause for a second because that was a lot. Any questions out there?
Do you want us to talk or type it in?
No, come on. I love when you guys come online.
I had a question about the content pillars. How can you just explain a little bit more, like what those mean to you, and kind of give us examples? Because I'm not sure what you meant by that.
Yeah, so content pillars are, so I'm going to use the wedding destination as an example, right? So my who is brides who want weddings in an untraditional way, right? That's the target audience. Right. So if I was going to build content pillars, I'd be building content pillars as to content pillars are themes of information around your ideal client. So content pillar for a bride are destinations that create amazing experience for brides. Why, things that you need to consider in selecting an advisor would be a content pillar. How I design trips for brides, right? So content pillars are really around what is the information that your ideal client needs to help them identify their problem and help them solve the problems that they have. For brides, their problem is picking a location, getting their family out of town without killing them. Right? That's their problem. And so your content pillars are going to solve and address those things and then position you as the expert. Does that help?
That does help. Yeah. So would it be kind of like if you were specifically advertising, or not advertising, but like posting, I guess would be a better word, or on your website, something like the most unique destinations in 2026 kind of a thing, because most brides are already planning 2026.
Yeah, they're planning the future
already.
Yeah, so that would definitely be a content piece. A pillar is the category of content that you want to do. So that would be a good example of a piece that I would do under destinations. Like, so one of the content pillars would be locations. And those locations would be around the locations that I would want to highlight and focus on. So pillars are, just think of them as categories, right? And they're categories of information that really position you as the expert. So destinations would be location, problems to getting in and out of, planning would be a content pillar I would probably do. Once they're there, like what to do, how to keep everybody engaged. Right. So does that make sense? Like, it's really the categories of information.
Yes, categories help.
Content.
Huh? Mm-hmm. The categories helped. Yes, thank you.
Yep. All right, perfect. Great question, though. Who is that? Who asked that?
Oh, Jessica.
Hey, Jessica. I didn't look to see who was speaking. Thanks,
all
Jessica.
Good. Yeah.
Any other questions? No? All right. Well, so no other questions. Listen, next week, what we're going to be going over, let me tell you what next week's going to look like. You know what? I did not include next week's. I skipped that and I don't have it memorized. So I'm gonna I usually have next week's on the radar, but it looks like I didn't include it. So I don't remember what next week. You know what? Next week that's why I'm not going to be live next week. I have a graduation to go to. So my last kid is graduating high school next Wednesday. So I will be recording and launching that. So I will not be here live. So I will see you the week after next live. But you can check out on my YouTube channel for the recorded session that we will be promoting next week. Thank you so much. I'm officially a mom of adult children. He turned 18 last week, or I think it was 2 weeks ago. So I have no babies anymore. So it's a great feeling. Yeah, so thank you, ladies. If you have any questions, come inside of the community. If you are not a part of our community.
Hi, Cindy.
Yes, yes.
I just had one
Yeah.
question. My apologies.
Yeah.
You mentioned signature services are more so for yourself, the agent advisor, and a signature product is something that we would offer to the client.
Yeah.
As the advisor agent, could you give like an example of what a signature product would be?
So an example, so a signature product, like, so for me, what I have, one of my signature trips is for advisors. I have a learning through experience. So it's not a fam trip, but it's a trip that is focused on training advisors before they go out of the country to a signature destination, how to create a signature destination trip for their clients. That would be an example of a signature. So if you like, do you have an idea of who do you specialize in?
Yes, I have an idea. It would be around accessible travel and small businesses. So I kind of have an idea.
So for
what
small
a
businesses,
product
you
would
could do a retreat. You could design a retreat that you host once a year.
Yes,
That would be a
that was
signature service, a
that
product.
was the
That would be an example.
beginning of that was the beginning of my idea.
Yeah.
And so
So it would
I
be
just kind
that
of want to make
thing
sure I was on
that
the
you're
same
going to be
page.
known for.
Awesome. Cool.
Perfect.
That helps. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, ladies and gents, if there are any gents out there. So have a wonderful rest of your week. The replay will be up, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks live.